Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Strange Pathways. I've had a great week. I hope you've had a really good week too. I have something kind of special. I have 3 amazing tales of the Men in Black in store for you today. Now, me personally, I believe that the Men in Black is not only one of the most interesting phenomena out there, but it's one of the most important. If there's something they don't want us to know, then you can be sure that it's something we should know. There's not a lot of research. Nick Redfern has done an amazing amount of research into the Men in Black, but everybody's kind of very focused on the UFO aspect of it, not so much the Men in Black aspect of it. I see this as a bit of a magic trick. Look over here while we're messing with it over here. And I believe that the Man in Black phenomena is much more prevalent than we give it any credit for. Because, these are something threatening. These are dangerous. These Men in Black, why would anybody talk about it? I think it's the rare case where anybody actually comes forward and says, I have had a Man in Black encounter. I know I wouldn't talk about it. I know a lot of people wouldn't talk about it because it's not just your ego. It's not just your reputation that's at stake. Now it's your very life. So let's celebrate these brave souls who have come forward with these 3 amazing tales of the Men in Black. Our first tale takes us back to September 2017, around 1:30 a.m. in Kensington, Maryland. The witness, who has decided to go by the name V, wakes up at pre-said 1:30 a.m. to the sound of a break-in. They grab their handgun from their bedside drawer, and they go to their bedroom door. They reach out to open it, steeling themselves to come into contact with an intruder. But as soon as they touch that bedroom door, boom, unconscious. It's as if they've been drugged simply by the touch of that bedroom door. When V does come to, they wake up naked, cold, and they find themselves in a pill-shaped glass container. Now, this glass container, the lid is open, so they're able to stumble out onto the floor. They are drugged, though. If you've ever had surgery and you come out of it, you have that heavy, barely can function feeling. V is the same. They can barely walk. They're thinking they've been kidnapped by someone. So they're looking for an escape. The room that they're in is made of concrete, plastic, fluorescent lights. It's mostly composite materials. They make their way into a hallway, this tunnel-shaped hallway. And they see that blue light coming from the end of the hall, like a moth to a flame. They're going towards that blue light. They come out of the tunnel, and they find themselves in a cylindrical room, very large. And lining this room, Japanese and German cars, motorcycles, American military, all hanging from hooks on the walls. It's as if something is collecting these. Now, this is something I'm sure many people have seen. Myself, I've only ever seen it once. I went to a BMW dealership. I foolishly bought a smart car many years ago. I loved the look of them. I thought they were cute, and I bought them, and then found out there was no one to repair them within 200 miles of where I lived. So I had to limp my smart car to this BMW dealership, and there they have this BMW car hanging on the wall. There's nothing there, vehicle-wise, that's alien or unknown. These are all human-made vehicles. In the center of the room is this metal tree, about 60, 70 feet tall. The glow is coming from this tree. It has glowing blue leaves. V gets a closer look at this tree. Remember, V is still drugged. They're not trusting their senses just yet. So they get up close. And they find that this tree is a large metal cylinder. And the leaves are the capsules that V woke up in. These still had people in them, though. And they were glowing neon blue. V starts to look further up the tree. There are blue wires moving around this dark area near the ceiling. A large clump of wires floats down towards V. And it turns towards them. V then realizes these clumps of wires have faces in them. Two large dark eyes, narrow slits for noses and mouths. V says, and V does not like to put it this way, but V says, this was your stereotypical gray alien face, but it's floating in a tangled up mess of tentacles. There's 3 of these faces staring at him. 1 is smiling, 2 are frowning. There's an attempt to communicate with the smiling one, at least. They try to exchange a few words. They try to communicate through a crude sign language. But V is so exhausted, and they're so advanced that there's no real way to share information. That exhaustion starts to build. V's overexerted themselves for the state that they're in, and V passes out. When V comes to, again, they're face down on a glass floor. Still too tired to move. They tilt their head and take a look around. They're in a circular room, about 150 foot square. Bright, sterile, hospital white. One of these tentacle aliens is in the room, but it's facing away and operating an odd set of controls with no buttons or lever. V lays their head back down, and they see through the floor. They have risen out of a deep, dark pit that was dug into a grassy plain. This rock-shaped lid closes around the hole to cover it up, and they fly further away. It hits V. I'm in a spacecraft. I was in some sort of silo on Earth someplace, and I'm in a spacecraft. V passes out and wakes up to the feeling of being dropped back onto their bed with a hard thud. Now V checks their phone. 6:30 a.m. 5 hours exactly. A little bit later on, V finds an object that's been inserted and cauterized into his right leg. Within 4 days, the men in black arrive. It's a run-in. That's all V's comfortable with saying. It's a run-in. V's never believed in abductions, UFOs, men in black, none. V says they're annoyed. There's no official place to get legitimate information or help. It's traumatic. V wishes it would have never happened. And I've said this before, this is not anything you want happening to you. We'd all love to have the experience, but we're thinking of it in our minds where we know we're safe. He goes to MUFON, and MUFON ignores him. Absolutely ignores him. I've had trouble. I can't say trouble. I'm really upset with the way things have been going on with MUFON in recent years. I'm not happy with the way that organization has progressed. And I'm going to leave it at that. Our next tale takes us back to December 5th, 2009, around 4 p.m. in Hugo, Oklahoma. The witness, who wants to remain anonymous, was sitting on their living room couch having a chat with her husband. Their 8-year-old son was playing in the yard. She sees flickers of an orange glow reflecting off of a box on the porch through the living room window. Now, she's worried about a fire, what have you. So she opens the door to see what this was. Her son is standing past the end of the east side of the house and just staring at the porch. She looks over and goes, "What are you doing? What's going on?" He kind of half runs, half walks over to her and says that he saw something. He's crying, he's shaking, he's very scared. He said that he's seen a dark figure, huge, dark eyes, but it has an orange glow all around it. Just, the entire thing is just floating a little bit off the ground. This entity came from behind the family's car, went next to the house, and turned around and looked at him. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? It would be horrible enough to see this, but for it to lock eyes with you, so that you know that it knows you're there. It's staring at him, and then it floats higher. It's about the height of the Christmas lights hanging off the porch. The son, 8 years old, he turns his head a little bit, closes his eyes. He's scared. He looks back, and it's gone. He talks to his mother a little bit more about this. Says it was about as tall as he was, 4 foot. He couldn't see its legs. Its arms looked like it was straight down beside of its body. Its eyes were really big, just a slightly different color than the face. He thinks he was about 40 to 50 feet away from the creature. And remember, you can all chalk this up to the imagination of an 8-year-old boy, but the mother saw the orange flicker. They live in a wooded area. I'm jealous. They have dogs, but the dogs didn't bark at all. They do call for the dogs. And one of the dogs starts smelling the ground right where the son said this creature had been floating. That to me is interesting, because it has left something behind. This had been reported to the National UFO Reporting Center. Now, that is an organization run by Peter Davenport. Legend. Absolute legend. Sometime afterwards, Peter Davenport gets this message. Mr. Davenport, I'm requesting that my submission on 12/6/09 regarding my son's observation of an orange, a glowing dark figure on 12/5/09 be removed or not be posted. I have reason to believe that this apparent experience may not be accurate. Again, please do not post the report that was made regarding his experience. After questioning him further, it may have simply been the sun shining in his eyes or something. Thank you. Now, the report was filed by probably, Mr. Davenport is not certain, but probably the brother of the woman. The son, the 8-year-old son's uncle. He told Mr. Davenport, a few days after the report was filed, 2 men dressed in black suits showed up at the woman's residence. Now remember, they're out in the middle of the woods. They were driving a black full-size car, probably a 2000 Ford Crown Victoria. He was there. The uncle was there when this happened. It was about 2 p.m. and they knocked on the back door. The mother answered, and these 2 men, they said, we're investigators from the state of Oklahoma. They just threw up some ID, quick, put it away, and they want to speak to the woman who made the report. These 2 men refused to come inside. They wanted the woman to come out onto the porch. She does. About 5 minutes later, she comes back into the house, and she's upset. She goes immediately to the family computer. The uncle's like, what happened? What happened? She refuses to talk about it. She just says, wait. She gets done on the computer. One is assuming that she's writing the note that Mr. Davenport got. And she sits down next to her brother. The 2 men, she explained, asked her, what did your son see? She tells them. And she says, they just sat there. They look at her and say, withdraw the report ASAP. Forget the incident. The men were acting weird. They talked like they were reading from a script. That very robotic, stilted speech. She then looks to her brother and says, go to my son's school. Pick him up. Don't let him take the bus home. He does. They get back, and the woman, the mother, is sitting at the kitchen table reading the Bible. She looks up and looks at her son and goes, "Don't ever talk about what had happened." They kept quiet, even though other incidents occurred at the residence. A UFO hovering over the house in 2014. It was witnessed by the entire household. They moved. The boy who witnessed the entity, since the encounter, has had severe mental issues. The mother believes that the incident is completely to blame for the boy's problems. One wonders, was that initial sighting the 8-year-old boy had, was that the accident? The men in black arrive, threaten, but they keep throwing odd stuff at this family just to make sure they keep their mouths closed. They just do innocuous weird stuff. Fly over the Smith's house. Let's make sure they know how to keep their mouth shut. Our last tale takes us back to 2011, Joshua Tree National Park, California. The witness, who's going by the name MS, decides to go camping in Joshua Tree with a few friends. I do miss camping. I have not taken a vacation in quite a long time. I wouldn't mind doing a little camping. It's nice to sit there, stare at the fire, look up into the sky. That's exactly what they were doing, looking at the stars. That's when MS and their friends noticed a couple of glowing blue UFOs in the night sky. They were moving at unbelievable speeds. Everyone watching is stunned. All MS has is a flip phone. It's 2011. But the UFOs are moving too fast for a clear photo. They're driving back home. And of course, why wouldn't it be? The subject of conversation is what they saw. They're actually very excited about it. A little while later, MS notices that black car following from a distance. They switch lanes. So does the black car. Wherever their car goes, that black car follows. MS looks up, makes a lane change, looks back down, checks the area in front of him, quick glance back. Car is gone. MS is really unsettled. But anything could have happened. The next day, MS is running some errands. They get finished. They start driving home. And whenever MS arrives home, there's a black Cadillac parked in their driveway. Surely this isn't the same black car. The gut, though. The gut is telling MS, nope, it's the same one. MS gets out of the car. Two men in matching black suits, light gray dress shirts, black ties, black fedoras approach him. And they say, "We need to ask you a few questions." MS goes, "Who are you? Credentials?" And they go, "We work for a division of the U.S. Air Force." MS gets a better look, and he notices they look plastic, expressionless, pale olive skin tone. These men speak in raspy, monotone voices. And once again, their speech is script precise. It's almost synthetic. The gaze is cold, intense. MS has a good memory, though. He remembers some of the questions that were asked. I'm assuming MS is a man. I apologize if that is not the case. But MS is asked, "Can you describe what you saw that night? What do you think you saw? Did you take any photos of what you witnessed? Were there others who might have had recording devices or cameras? Do you know if anyone recorded the incident? Have you spoken about this incident with anyone else who wasn't present with you that night? Did you find any unusual debris at the location you were that night? Would you be withholding any important information from us?" MS lied. MS admits withheld a lot of information and did not answer the questions honestly. At the end of this, these two men in black, they advise strongly MS does not talk about what they witnessed with anyone. Forget it happened. Isn't that interesting? Forget it happened. We've heard that a lot today. It's almost like they're expecting us to be able to delete this from our minds like a computer. Forget it happened. These men in black told him they'd be keeping an eye on them, just in case MS ignored their demands. He's not sure who these men were, how they had knowledge, but MS believes them to be the man in black. Now, once again, just like that family in the woods who saw the entity with the orange aura, MS has had a few more encounters. But they really don't talk about them. Once again, it's almost like a test. Like, fly him over MS's house. Let's see if they can keep their mouth shut. No more visits from the men in black. Thank you for joining us once again on Strange Pathways. We're not going to have a lot of images up this week. Of course, how many photos have ever been taken of the men in black? But if you want to, head over to our Twitter, Pathways Strange, TikTok, Strange Pathways Podcast, Instagram is the same, Strange Pathways Podcast. Head over to our Facebook, and if you have an incident involving not just the men in black, anything unexplained, please contact us at strangepathwaysmail@gmail.com. If you head over to YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe over on our YouTube channel, and get the word out there. Let your friends, your family members know, your workmates, you know you've got somebody that's going to love this show just as much as you do. Maybe more. Who knows? And thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourselves and each other.